It's time for Tool Talk. These are 50 plus tools and apps to work smarter and get more out of your side hustle. What's up? What's up? Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where we've been helping make day jobs optional since 2013. Now, this is one of the most requested topics that I get. A look under the hood at the different tools, apps, resources, software services that I use to run Side Hustle Nation. And because I'm not that great at just reading off a list and monologuing for an hour, I thought it would be more fun to have a co-host for this discussion who's going to bring her own opinions and insights and recommended resources to the table as well. She's the host of the award-winning podcast that highlights Black women entrepreneurs who've scaled their side hustles into profitable businesses. And she's an accomplished entrepreneur in her own right from Side Hustle Pro, Nicaila Matthews Okome. Welcome to the similarly named Side Hustle Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick. Wow, that was quite an intro. And it's always fun to hear a fellow podcaster. I'm like, oh, you rock that. Oh, you're so good at this.
Well, very much appreciated. You are no stranger to the mic with over 400 episodes of the Side Hustle Pro podcast running since 2016. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your business and the toolkit that you've been using to run it as well. Now, we've got a bunch of different categories to run through today, but since the common thread here is online business, we're going to start with website tools. I still believe that even in the age of social media and video, I think it's really important to have that website as your home base. And for me, that starts with WordPress, and specifically GeneratePress is the theme that I've been using for the last 7-something years. For that, WordPress, of course, has the advantage of being free, open source. GeneratePress, pretty affordable, premium theme, lightweight, loads fast, customizable. And what's cool about WordPress specifically is just like the ecosystem of plugins and support where there's a little bit like any software. There's a little bit of a learning curve to bend it to your will, but it's super, super powerful. And it seems to be the platform that all of the serious website builders are using. Is that what Side Hustle Pro is hosted on as well?
That is absolutely what Side Hustle Pro is hosted on. I've been using WordPress, and it's funny you mentioned the theme detector because I started out by getting, a WordPress site and then going to this site called WordPress Theme Detector. So it's wp-themedetector.com, I believe. We'll link to it. And from there, it allows you to copy a URL, plug it in, to see like what theme that WordPress site is using, and then just use the same theme. So when I was starting out and I wanted a professional looking podcast website, I went to a fellow podcaster site that I thought looked really clean, really good, and I just copied the theme.
Yeah, I love that.
And you have to pay for it. Yeah.
Control U or something, like looking at the source code, see if we can find out what the theme file directories are. Like totally have done all that stuff. One of my first sites was this virtual assistant directory, and it was a site that I found. I was like researching a wine niche site. Like, I don't know anything about wine. I had no business being in that space. But one of the sites I found was this like wine club review site. I was like, a decent layout, decent structure. Is exactly the same thing. Well, what theme are they using? Like, okay, we could just rebuild this to be about the world of virtual assistants. So, very cool. So that's kind of
so much of side hustling is literally rebuilding.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
Don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, and so we misspoke earlier. Like it said, okay, this is hosted on WordPress. It's not. It's self-hosted. And for me, the hosting platform that Side Hustle Nation has been on for over 10 years at this point is WPX hosting.
Oh, really?
Amazing customer support where they like respond within seconds on the live chat. They've helped me out of so many different, just technical challenges and issues that come up. They take daily backups. They've been awesome. And it's one of those bills that I think I pay annually. And up until very recently, it was like $25 a month, or about paid annually, like some Black Friday deal. It was like even less than that. And I, just recently like went over my allocated disk space for it, and so I had to go up to the next storage tier. But it's one of those bills that every time it would come around, it'd be like, I'm getting such an amazing deal from these people. Like this is like,
this
is like what those costs where you're like really happy to pay.
Oh yeah, that is an amazing deal because hosting is so expensive. I thought I was hosting on Bluehost for a number of years, And then recently in 2023, switched over to SiteGround. I've had a positive experience so far with SiteGround. Actually, my web designer recommended it. And then same thing, they give me emails with updates on performance, what can be improved, and all these other things. So I find that really helpful too.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I still have this Bluehost account for is creating these like redirects, and I don't know what they've got a bunch of different plans, but like the one that allows for lots of different add-on domains. So register vanity domains for the sake of saying them on the podcast. Like, one of the first ones I got was like buybuttonsbook.com, and that'll take you over to Amazon for the book. Or you want to start a website of your own, go to sidehustlewebsite.com, and it'll go to my tutorial page. And this was a page straight out of the Pat Flynn playbook, back in the day when he'd do this. I was like, oh, that's really smart.
I'm trying to figure out like how I can consolidate. It's a lot of back end work when you switch over a host, and you don't want to make sure any of your old sites crash. So it's like, am I doing duplicate payments right now? So I need to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, so that is the hosting side of things. For the domain registration things, use GoDaddy for a lot of years and still have some domains at GoDaddy. Lately, it's been Porkbun, who was a one-time sponsor of the show, but I like their very simple, straightforward interface without trying to sell you a million different add-ons like GoDaddy tries to do.
I still use GoDaddy, but it's so annoying. You're like, do I need this? What is actually needed here?
We've talked about like the GoDaddy conspiracy theory of like, checking to see if a domain is available. And like, no, don't do that unless you're ready to click buy. It's like somebody is scraping this, and it's happened too often to just be purely coincidence. Like, well, and now I go back a week later and it happens to be registered. Like, oh, come on. Okay, very good. So we have the next one on this list is the page builder, or in my case, Beaver Builder, which is it turns WordPress into more of a WYSIWYG type of editor. What you see is what you get type of editor, where you can drag and drop and manipulate it a little bit easier. And so Beaver Builder's been awesome for that.
I use Elementor or I should say my website designer. So I started out with WordPress, and after 3 years of podcasting, I hired a website designer, and so she took over and added in Elementor to do all the design and all that stuff. So I can't even say that I use that other than making edits. Anytime, it's very user friendly. So that's a great thing. I'm not a website designer, but after she's done with her project and demands, obviously, I'm not going to call her every time I need to set up a new page, make an edit, set up a landing page. So Elementor is really easy and straightforward to go in and do any kind of edits.
Yeah, and the way these work, it kind of layers on top of your existing WordPress theme.
Yes.
And I use it to create, sometimes custom pages, custom landing pages that, you don't want to follow the exact default template, but more often it's like little call outs inside the post you can use little short code for, and you kind of build these things. And the cool thing about that, you can embed that in a bunch of different posts, and if that link changes or you want to highlight a different partner or a different product, you can swap that out in one place in the Beaver Builder saved row, and it updates throughout the whole site versus going in and manually updating a dozen different posts.
Yep.
All right.
I agree.
That concludes our website section. I'm sure there's going to be more website related things lower on this list too.
Like plugins might come up. We'll see.
I'm sure. So the next category that we've got is marketing tools. And one big shift for me that we talked about this year was a shift from ActiveCampaign to ConvertKit. I guess it's just Kit now.
It's just Kit now, very recently.
For the email list, hugely important part of the business. To be able to take an anonymous podcast listener and say, oh, well, now I have the chance to communicate proactively with them instead of just whenever they happen to download the thing. You're on Kit as well?
I am on Kit. It's so new to me to say Kit, but yes, I am on Kit, and I like it a lot. I started out with MailChimp like most people, early marketers, and then I switched over to ConvertKit when I got way more serious about tagging people, subscribers, as they come onto my list, and being able to deliver automations and sequences. So if you're not a marketer and that all seems like jargon and just, jibber jabber to you, basically, when someone gives you their email for a freebie that you offer, I love being able to customize their experience when I'm really on my game. Like, I can't even lie and act like I'm still not working things out sometimes. But let's say I am leading a webinar, right? So I like how ConvertKit makes it really easy to send follow-up reminder emails, to tag people and make sure the right people are getting that or are not getting that. So I'm not bothering people who don't want this info about a podcast webinar.
Yeah, totally. If you are sending straight newsletter, on a regular cadence, it could be Beehive, it could be Substack, it could be any number of different tools. But for the automation and segmentation and tagging and all the other features that ConvertKit or Kit has, I think it's really cool. And there's like safety in numbers. So like, this is what James Clear uses, or this is what Tim Ferriss uses. You're
right.
Okay, well, if it's good enough for them, it's probably good enough for me.
Exactly. And that's how a lot of my tools started. Like, oh, you use that? Amy Porterfield? Okay, cool.
Yes, safety in numbers. What else I like about Kit is like they've made a lot of investment in the creator economy, where they're like really rooting for the small guy. It feels where they've built out their sponsor network and their creator network, where you could recommend other newsletter creators that you might like, that might be worth a follow, like in a similar niche. It's like trying to like lift everybody up, which is cool to be a part of that ecosystem.
About that. It really is. And I like the content they develop, whether it's on their blog and even the founder. He has a podcast as well. What's his last name again?
Nathan Barry. Yeah.
Nathan Barry. Yeah. It does make it more approachable when you hear the founder of a business. I like how Nathan, he just is so approachable when I hear him on his own podcast and he's talking about his experience building. And that's what me, an entrepreneur, is going through. So it adds a level of you just want to be a part of that ecosystem. Like you said, it adds a level of trust and also likability factor to the entire brand.
Yeah, he's always been...
Not to rave about ConvertKit for forever.
I know, but no, he's always been front and center, even showing up at events, even as the CEO of, $30-40 million company, whatever there's now. He remembers your name, he's like, hey, remember we talked a few years ago about this? Like he's, he plays the part very well and has built a cool product as well. So I lied and said we were done with the website section, but this one maybe was miscategorized. The next on this list that I have is Lead Pages, which is a landing page builder that have been a customer for probably close to 10 years at this point. It was another recurring subscription. I was like, do I really need this in my life? I was like really hesitant to buy it. Right. But within 3 months, I tripled the size of my email list. Within 12 months, it was like 10 or 12x. Okay, this is worthwhile. What I primarily use it for today is, it still has that landing page functionality to collect emails. What I originally used it for was like a two-step opt-in. Like, you want to download this thing, okay, a nice looking pop-up will come in and then you can do it. I don't use that so much anymore, but now you can have these kind of landing pages after an opt-in with a limited time, thank you page with like a limited time add-on upsell offer that I've been doing for a couple years, and it has like a little countdown timer. So, and it like integrates with Stripe, with the payment processors. Lots of cool stuff you can do with Lead Pages.
Ooh, I think I need to be doing more, but I love Lead Pages. I would say this is one of my favorite tools as a side hustler, entrepreneur, because it makes it so easy to set up a quick landing page, aka it feels like you set up a quick like mini website and no one will know the difference. And so I use that primarily for when I do live classes, live trainings, and that, like, I have one that it's just been with me since I started using Lead Pages. And similar to you, I tripled the size of my list when I started using them right away. I did like a master Instagram challenge,
Okay,
and
okay.
they actually did a little mini case study. So I love lead pages, and it's funny. Back in the day, I saw the bill and I thought about canceling it, and the customer service agent was kind of like, well, we're showing that you made this much revenue from your lead page last year. Are you sure you want to pay this annual fee? I'm like,
Right, right.
you're right, you're right.
It
I'll
makes
keep
it
it.
it makes it
Yeah.
hard to get rid of.
Hmm.
But and that's cool because like if you're doing a webinar, you're doing a live training, there's all these templates that you could just
Yep.
you don't have to start from scratch, and that's such a
Yep.
time saver. So I
Yes.
definitely like what they're doing. The next one on this list is a newer to me tool, maybe in the last year and a half or
Okay.
so, and that is a quiz builder called Interact. It's I think tryinteract.com, but we'll link all
Yes.
this stuff up
Yes.
in the
We're
show notes
using all
for
the
you.
same tools, Nick.
As expected, a little bit more of a debate or back and forth, but I'm sure we'll get to that lower down or later later in the show. But
But I think
Interact,
what we can
super
do
cool.
too, I feel like you're using things in different ways that, like you said, like the lead pages. So yeah, we can also talk about that because I'm like, oh, tell me how to use it, how to optimize my use.
Well, we'll happy to geek out on that stuff too. But Interact, a couple different quizzes that are live right now. One is on the homepage of Side Hustle Nation. This is like your side hustle finder. Answer a
Yep.
couple questions about your interests, goals, experience,
Yes.
right? And it's going to hopefully narrow down the realm of possibility or point you in the
Oh
right
yeah.
direction. And then I took an idea from a guest on the show, Shannon Weinstein, who had like Keep What You Earn was her. I forget what her podcast was, but like an accounting
Yeah.
themed podcast. And she's like, "Oh, I created this playlist quiz where I've got 200 episodes. And if you want to learn
Ooh.
about tax optimization, if you want to learn about incorporating your business, like that's a different listener persona. So we put together this
Yeah.
little playlist quiz and, create this
Ooh.
playlist for what is most recommended. And so you can
I
see this
love
in action
that.
at
Yeah.
hustle.show. Answer a few quick questions and it'll spit out, this 8 to 10 episode recommended playlist based on your answers. And that's been working really, really well.
Ooh, I love that. That's a great idea. So I love Try Interact as well. And funny enough, I just recently started using it. I used to have a different landing page, or excuse me, website freebie that was like the primary driver. And then I finally said, let me finally try it out as a quiz. And similar to you, I have a side hustle personality, like, but it's more like which side hustle is right for you. So the whole premise of Side Hustle Pro is about building out a side hustle from passion project to profitable business. So I want
Yeah.
people to understand, like, hey, are you the creative type? Are you a service-based consultant type? So that quiz, it immediately just took off. And I also run ads to it. They're paused right now, but I run ads to it as a lead magnet. And then, you're able to, as a fulfillment, you get your response, and then also tailored, customized strategies via email once you get your response from the quiz.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool level of personalization that you're able to do.
Yeah.
Plus, you get this first party data that nobody else really has. And so one thing
Yeah.
that was surprising to me on the homepage quiz, I think one of the first questions is like, do you want a side hustle to make extra money, or do you want a side hustle to eventually quit your job?
Yeah.
And my mentality is like, of course, people want the quit your job version. And I
Right,
think the
right.
podcast listener persona is probably more in that bucket. But 4 out of 5 people that landed on the homepage were like, I want a side hustle to make extra money. I was like,
Yes.
oh,
That's really good.
that's really
Good
interesting.
info.
And now you can segment
Yeah.
those people on the email list, and you do all this, all sorts of cool stuff.
So, question for you with your playlist. So, are you sending them to an actual, like a mini episode player on your site? Or how are you doing that playlist? Just linking out the episodes?
Yeah, it's done through Spotify. So create those
Okay.
custom, I guess, public playlists in Spotify, and then
Okay.
send people so they can add those to their
Love
device.
it. Love it. Stealing it.
Yes, perfect. That's let it snowball.
Yeah.
The next on this list is a Facebook group lead generating tool called Group Leads. This has
Ooh.
been part of our customer flow or lead flow for the past couple years, where it automatically, so when somebody joins the Facebook group, it asks a couple questions. It's like, hey, do you have a side hustle already? If yes, tell me about it. You want to get our best side hustle tips and an insider newsletter through email, put your email in here. And then through group leads, it automatically sends that data over to Kit now, and adds those people to the email list, and it can detect, is that person already on the list, or is that a new subscriber, and you kind of send different messages based on where they're coming from.
Ooh, I love that. I need to implement that. So, that's one I haven't been using. So yes, definitely want to test that out myself. Group leads.
Yeah, so the Side Hustle Nation Facebook group, sidehustlenation.com/FB, will get you over there. You can see this in action as well if you're not already a member. And this has added thousands of new subscribers a year. So I love the, broader strategy is like have the Facebook group for your topic, for your community. And then, the next level is like, well, how do you get people off of Facebook into your email list, into your ecosystem a little bit? And so group leads has been super helpful for that.
Getting people off of social media and into your email list it's just huge as an entrepreneur. Do you do anything similar for like Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter?
I got to learn from you on the Instagram stuff. I do almost nothing over there. All right, I've got a WordPress plugin for you at number 10 or 10. I don't know. We're probably losing count on this list. This is called Pretty Link. This is a long-running WordPress plugin that helps you create easy to remember affiliate links. So, and both for podcast episodes where I could say, hey, the show notes for this one are at sidehustlenation.com/Nikayla, or you could do it for, if you want to go check out courses on Udemy, it's sidehustlenation.com/Udemy. So it makes it easy to say, if you don't want to go, we mentioned before, creating that, custom vanity domain like buybuttonsbook.com. Like this is a free way to do that.
I use Pretty Link all the way. I love Pretty Link and customizing. And I also even do it for like Facebook ads, for example. If I have a link in the ad, I want to make sure that it's not this whole long link. So I often make sure I have a custom link. Or if I want to know if you clicked on Instagram or to listen to the episode, or on Facebook or what have you, I make customized links for data tracking as well.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. The next one is also affiliate related, and this is the Lasso plugin. I think it's getlasso.co. We had the founder, Andrew, on the show a year or two ago, and this was another one. It's like, do I need another recurring subscription? But it's like, I don't know what the price is, like $39 a month or something. It's not crazy expensive, because the lift in conversions that you see from creating these cool, wire cutter inspired product displays far exceeds the cost of the little tool. So I think it looks really cool. We have slowly been going through the entire site and creating little product displays, little call outs, and I think they look great. They look good on mobile, and they perform really well too.
Ooh, no, I have not. I've definitely heard of Get Lasso, but I haven't used it yet. So thank you for endorsing it. So now I'm definitely going to check it out. Yeah,
it's one of these, call it management by looking around, where you're like, well, what is everybody else doing? And you're like, oh, everybody else has these cool little product displays. Like, I'm missing the boat. And for the longest time, like I tried to build it myself, like in Beaver Builder. I just could never get the same look and feel, and it's like, why stop cheaping out, just go and do the thing that is.
Which products are you displaying when you say that?
So it will be tools like Fundrise, or it'll be like go check out the flea market flipper workshop, or you just
really
different
cool to do for my sponsors. Sorry to keep cutting you off. I'm just excited. Like, giving me ideas as we chat.
Yeah, that one is pretty cool. My digital product business, my course business, is hosted on Teachable, and this is probably going on 5 years at this point. Teachable was one of the very first sponsors on the show, so always will have a warm place in my heart for Teachable and their founding team, as they took a chance, as a up and coming podcaster. But this is a place to host your courses, a place to process payments for those, host the sales pages, all sorts of, kind of like an all-in-one tool for courses.
Yes, I also use Teachable and I host my Podcast Moguls course on that. So that's a course where I teach aspiring podcasters how to launch and monetize your own podcast. And it's been really great. It's a seamless experience to go in, set up the modules, then you get the replays when we have our mastermind calls. You can send people to the checkout sales page there, or if you do another like funnel type of website, which I'm sure we'll get to, you can still just send them the info to get registered and get started with the course on Teachable. So I really like Teachable.
Yeah, they've been around forever. There's a bunch of different, LMS or learning management system type of tools. Pros and cons to all of them,
Right.
but it's been working fine over here.
What you'll find with tools is the switching costs. Like you have to really make it worth it for someone to want to switch their whole workflow and take their content over to another platform. So I don't think any other course provider has made the switching costs worthwhile.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a significant feature improvement or significant cost savings to unravel all of that. And that was what it was for ActiveCampaign. It's like, really, we've got hundreds of different forms. It's, all these integrations.
Yeah.
And to their credit, ConvertKit's like, hey, we'll do it for you. And they did. Yep. So it's like, okay. The next one I guess a couple on this list are going to be SEO related. And first one for me is Ahrefs. It's Ahrefs. This is the leading keyword research tool and has been for a long time for anybody serious about ranking their content in Google. All the serious SEO people, friends, colleagues, people in the industry tend to use this one. And they recently came out with a starter plan that was like a third of the cost. And so it's like, oh, okay, that's the one that I need, because it's like I was always kind of a little bit expensive for what we were using it for. And it's the same thing where it's like, well, the ROI is definitely there if you can get a piece of content that the keyword topic you discovered through Ahrefs and you created that content and you got it to stick. Like, it definitely pays for itself, but like it definitely also pays for itself if it's a third of the cost and the feature set didn't really change. So really cool to have discovered that just recently.
I like that. Another one that, I, for SEO, was really doing the basic of using a WordPress plugin. And I think it was called Yoast. But there's a new business that my husband and I are starting. So I'm going to take it a step up and actually use what's it called, Href? Yeah, for that, because again, I want to start out by knowing, okay, what can we rank for? What are the top searches for this? What are the suggested searches? So what exactly does it do for you?
So one of the cool things you can do is plug in a similar or a competitor site and see what pages of theirs are doing well, what pages, what kind of keywords that they have created content for. And it's kind of like this opening spark of inspiration. Be like, oh, that's an interesting, I never would have thought about that. And then the other kind of use case is we've got all of these different keyword topics now, or ideas, that we could create. And then you punch them all in and it'll tell you the approximate search volume or traffic potential plus the estimated difficulty of each one. Yeah. So we're naturally sorting by, which ones have the most traffic potential and are the easiest in theory to rank for.
There was something else I used for that. And for some reason, I've used SEMrush tool. So I had to look that up. So definitely use SEMrush for that.
Okay. The other SEO tool that we've been using is Phrase. It's Frase. This is a little bit nerdier, but it works in a couple different ways. First, you can input a new content idea. Hey, this is the article that I want to write, and it pulls in, the top 10, 20 search results that are already in Google for that topic and says, if you're creating this article, this is what Google already thinks is the most valuable content. So you can help kind of build your outline based on that. And the second way you can use it is to say, well, I already have this article on topic XYZ, but it's due for a refresh. And it works similarly where it's like, well, your content mentions this phrase, twice, but the top 10 results mention it 4 times. So you might want to increase. It's like really granular and kind of like, I don't know if that's really, if that could be considered AI, but it like just kind of helps you try and figure out where the gaps might be in your content. And along the same way.
So you find that you need that on top of Ahrefs? That's interesting.
Yeah. So Ahrefs more for the like the general seed ideas for content.
Okay.
And then this is like helping you build out the outlines or improve existing content. And you could use ChatGPT for this probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think since I've been using ChatGPT, I've been kind of defaulting to it, but I absolutely am gonna test them out. But I can't, I don't know if I want to pay for all of it again, though.
Our next section is productivity tools, and all of these are productivity tools in one form or another. But for me, the top one, the first tab that gets opened every day, probably a bad habit, is Gmail. It's like one inbox to rule them all. If you email me, nick@sidehustlenation.com, it'll come into that Gmail inbox, and you've got all of these filters set up where, newsletters go over here, and, affiliate sales notifications go over here. And then, personal stuff goes into this folder, and, PayPal receipts go into, this accounting type of folder. And so it's kind of that one central inbox to really rule them all.
I use Gmail as well. Gmail has been holding me down since the beginning of Side Hustle Pro. And again, one inbox. If you email me at hi@sidehustlepro.co, it's going there. And it usually is, sometimes I do my calendar before Gmail. But yeah, that's definitely one of the first places I'm in each day.
Probably a bad habit, but it's, 15, 20 years old at this point. It's going to be hard to break. One tool that I layer on top of Gmail is a software called SaneBox, which is kind of a smart, like, first level filtering, where for everything that comes in, it decides, like, does this need to go to your primary inbox, or does it need to go into kind of a secondary, less important inbox? And it's remarkably good at that. And you still have to go check the secondary inbox. They call it sane later. It's like, it's not urgent. You can look at it later. And you still need to go and clean that out. And you can train stuff. You can drag it back and forth. But that's been I've been a customer of they's for a lot of years. And they filtered out thousands of messages at this point that were less important and stopped cluttering up the main inbox.
Ooh, I think I need that for my personal. I used to use Boomerang a lot more. And even for like sending later, but obviously you can do that now just via Gmail. And what I find with the inbox is I just want to be able to see everything first. I don't want it to go, like, sometimes things would go to filters and I wouldn't even, I don't know. I just want to make sure that I'm seeing everything, but I do have my inbox divided, starred on top and then unread. And so it's nice because once I've read and addressed it, it's blank. I don't like keeping a huge inbox at all. And then, but starred lets me know what I need to get back to. And that's my simple system right now. And then I have a ton of filters. So I do organize by, all right, this email goes to address, this goes to, I even have things like email examples, and I'll do that by name of the, influencer or content creator, and I'm like, ooh, I like this email, so I'll save it in their special inbox for me to go back to and review.
Yeah, take inspiration from somebody else rather than starting from that blank page, rather than starting from scratch.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Boomerang as a good Gmail add-on. The one that I've been using for a long time is called Nudge Mail, where it's like, this isn't important today, but I want it to resurface in a couple weeks. You just CC or forward that message to like 2 weeks at nudgemail.com, and it like brings it back to the top of your inbox. Or if you sent a note to a sponsor or a client and you want to make sure to follow up with them in a few days, you can say like, just CC, or BCC. Maybe you don't want them to see it. Like, 5 days at nudgemail.com. Like any commonly expressed time frame, it'll resurface that into your inbox. So that's been a cool, helpful tool as well.
Very cool.
Next on this list is a clipboard management tool. I'm on PC, so this is ClipX, which allows you to saves the last 25 things you copied onto your clipboard, which is like just one of these like little desktop productivity tools. I've heard that Copy Clip is the Mac alternative, but this is something that I use all day, every day without even thinking about it now.
Really? No, I don't use any kind of clipboard tool like that. That's so interesting. So why do you want to remember what you got? Maybe I'm scared to.
Sometimes I want to paste
someone to keep track of what I copy.
Yeah, it's like I'm pasting the URL, and then I copy something out, and then it was like 3 copies ago. I want to paste that thing again. It's just it's remarkable how often that use case comes up.
That's true. That is true. Like when I'm writing an email, okay, I wanted to have my podcast, my Apple Podcast link copied. Oh, but now the last thing I did was YouTube. So, all right, okay, you convinced me. Maybe I will add this on. Is that a Chrome extension or it's another like separate thing to do as an add-on?
That's a desktop free, I think free software for PC, and then Copy Clip, I want to say, is the Mac alternative that people have mentioned.
All right. Okay.
I do have a Chrome plugin or Chrome extension for you next, and this one is called Magical. This is custom keyboard shortcuts, and so use this all the time. Like if I hit like SSS or something like that'll type HTTP, whatever, www.sidehustlenation.com.
Yeah.
You get tired of typing this stuff out over and over again. You kind of create these custom keyboard shortcuts for the stuff that you type out all the time, or like asterisk or something that's like the schedule once link, like meetme.so/, use this all the time as well, and so that's been really helpful.
That's so cool. I thought I was productive, but you putting me on to a whole different level. I thought I was doing something with Command C, Command V.
Yeah.
Well, those keyboard shortcuts. Okay. No, I don't
takes
have a keyboard
takes a minute
tool.
to set up, but you feel like just a productivity ninja when you bang these emails out right away.
Okay.
And I think there's free. I think they probably have a paid plan too.
Speaking of that, one thing I forgot to mention about Gmail, I also have a lot of saved templates inside of Gmail. So that saves me time with responding to people. So, and I also have that for my VA. So my VA has a sub email under Side Hustle Pro, and then everything from email pitches to prospective guests to responses to people who pitch us, and different things to say to sponsors or all kinds of things. We've made up all kind of templates so that we can just plug and play and not have to keep reinventing the wheel for each email. And it
that's
up
great.
The reply process.
That's great for sponsor requests, for guest pitch requests. Yes. Like, you can, hey, sorry to do that for the sake of sanity. I'm funneling guest applications through this form. Here's the link. And because you get. It's the stuff you end up typing out over and over again.
Right. Over and over again. Anything over and over again becomes a template.
All right, my next productivity tool is my personal creation. It's called the 3-question journal. Every night it is going to ask you what'd you get done today, right? Like kind of a mental brain dump of all the things you crossed off your list. It's going to ask you what you're grateful for, and it's going to ask you how you're going to win tomorrow. What are your top priorities for the next day? And this is something created last year, I want to say, and has been kind of a daily habit ever since then, and helps me feel more on top of it. Helps me, honestly, kind of do that shutdown routine, like okay, it's out of here and it's onto the page, and then when I get to work the next day, it's this is what yesterday Nick said was the top priorities, so let's go knock those out first. And so that's been really helpful. 3qjournal.com is a redirect link, another one of those vanity domains where you can get redirected over there.
I love that. So I also have a tool that I use for productivity. So I started this back in 2016. It's called the Goal Getter Action Plan, and it's essentially my approach to managing my goals for the year. So I break it down into 90-day sprints, and aka 12-week sprints, where instead of focusing and looking at the year as like this huge, I got to get all this done. And I didn't make up the concept of 12-week sprints, but the way I break it down in the Goal Getter Action Planner helps people who don't meet their goal to recalculate. So I think that's the thing I've noticed from my listeners. That's the thing that stops most people, is this feeling of beating yourself up. And that's normal. It's part of the process to not get things done. So how do you recalculate? How do you reshift your goals so that you actually get things done? So that has helped me a ton to not waste time on like that mental roller coaster and just say, all right, let's pivot. So similar to you, I look at my calendar. That's where I keep. So once I break the sprints down into quarterly goals by 90-day sprints, then I break it down into monthlies. And so each night I'm looking at, okay, what did I get done? What do I need to shift around this week? So it just keeps me going one foot at a time, just keep swimming. And you can get more of that over at sidehustlepro.co/goal getter.
We'll link up the Goal Getter Action Planner. Very cool.
Yes.
You did mention the calendar. That's our next category of tools here. For me,
Yeah.
two tools work in conjunction with each other. First is Google Calendar, and then the second one is Schedule Once. This is like the booking management link where somebody wants to book a podcast interview, somebody wants to book a intro call, right? You have these different categories set up. We have heard from the AppSumo crew that TidyCal is a one-time purchase instead of a annual subscription for Schedule Once. But Schedule Once is already integrated into a bunch of different systems, including these keyboard shortcuts. So it's that's what have stuck with. But Google Calendar and Schedule Once really the thing with Google Calendar is like the time blocking, where and Schedule Once will allow you to do this too. I'm only taking meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays, right? I want the bigger, deep work blocks of time the rest of the days.
Yes, I use Google Calendar and Calendly. So Calendly, that's originally I started using that just to have my guests be able to book and select from all the options I had on my calendar. And now I use it for everything, as well as my VIP coaching calls with like VIP branding or podcasting clients. I use it for quick informational calls. When I interview people to hire them for Side Hustle Pro, it's all run through Calendly. And then, of course, it syncs with my calendar so they could only schedule when I'm available, because I also block off my calendar for various life things or, deep work sessions and all that.
Totally. I will hand it to Calendly. Much better looking interface than Schedule Once. If you want to care about presentation a little bit more, Calendly is the one to go with there. The next category on our tool list, resources list, is for graphics and video. And so probably the common one that everybody probably uses at this point is called Canva. This is Canva. This is YouTube thumbnails. This is digital product, like making workbooks in here. This is sometimes custom blog graphics. This is super easy to use, and they've added on all these kind of cool photo editing, image enhancement, AI type of layer, like really, really powerful. Like that's another one of those where it's like, it's really, I'm just grateful that this exists in the world and makes life easier.
Absolutely. Canva is A1. If you're a side hustler doing any kind of creating graphics for your business, you need to be on Canva. I use the Canva for my presentations, for webinars, for creating quick ebooks. And sometimes I even purchase templates on Etsy. So let's say you're not finding what you want inside of Canva. A lot of times you can go onto Etsy and say, ebook, or you want a new slide deck, aka presentation slides, and then they create a Canva version. So you can just, once you purchase, download it and then upload that template to Canva and start working by customizing it to your brand colors. And I do that a ton because sometimes I'm just looking for something fresh, whether it's graphics on Instagram, you talked about Instagram growth, or anything. I sometimes purchase a template and then move it over to Canva.
Yeah, for sure. There's a screen recording tool that I use for online courses, for demo videos, for tutorials, for virtual assistants. I use this all the time. It's called ScreenPal. It used to be called Screencast-O-Matic. I think there's still a free plan, but super affordable. This would be an alternative to Loom. This is just, I don't know, one that we use almost daily to kind of create that type of, process library type of content that's internal facing to the company, but also external facing content where it's like you want to do a demo of some tool that you're using and put that up on YouTube. And it's like really, really helpful to have.
Oh yeah.
And I also use their built-in editor for a lot of video tools too. It's
nice.
It's very basic. Like if you are used to, After Effects or some real official video editing software, you're gonna be like, what the heck am I doing?
Right. Well,
but
I'm
it's
not
the one that I learned
by any means. Yeah. So that will not be a problem for me. I still use either Loom or QuickTime. So QuickTime I've been defaulting to a lot more because Loom has been a little bit glitchy. Sorry, Loom. So I need to check out ScreenPal. Why do you like it more than Loom? Did you ever try Loom?
I used Loom up until like the limit of the free plan, and then the cool thing about Loom is that it
Yeah.
will provide you a transcript of the video,
Mm-hmm.
where this tool is not, or at least on the pricing tier that I'm at. I
Yeah.
think I'm probably grandfathered in at some low rate, but Loom absolutely is a viable alternative too.
Yes. And similarly, I also record tutorials for my team to, just walk through process of how to do something. And eventually, because I've recorded so many, we need to go back in and probably, get transcripts, put those in ChatGPT and update SOPs.
Yeah. The other one, just for screenshots and actually for like, full scroll, like if you want to capture like the whole website, not just what's
Yeah.
visible, I use a Chrome extension called Awesome Screenshot. And what else is cool about this is you can kind of do real-time markup of it, where in the
Okay.
editing window, you can crop that image, you can add circles and arrows and text, and
Yeah.
we use that for a lot of like product review content on the
Okay.
website, where you point to, you know you can cash out for gift card. You kind of highlight that section on the screenshot,
Mm,
and I don't know. That's something that ends up getting used quite a bit. Or just like even if it's just like customer support, like here's what we're
yeah.
seeing on our end. Capture the screenshot, send it over.
I like that. What's that called again?
Awesome Screenshot is the Chrome
Awesome
extension.
screenshot.
All right, next tool, video tool that we've been loving this year because it's really, really cool is called Pictory, Pictory.ai, I want to say.
Really?
This
Okay.
is upload your script, and there's probably like different script creation tools that are in there. But for us, our typical use case would be upload the script, upload the voiceover, and then it pulls in hundreds of stock footage clips. Like it turns this into a really visually compelling type of video. It adds captions, and
Yes.
some of
Yes.
these videos that we've done have had 10,000 views. Like they're out there on YouTube making money, and this
Yeah.
would have taken hours and hours and hours of
I
a
love
video
it.
editor's time. Yeah, this has been a cool addition just to speed up video production process. The bottleneck is still in the scripting, which we've
Yeah.
talked about, and working with some chat GPT prompts. Like, I want to turn this
Yeah.
blog post into a compelling video script.
Right,
Can you
right.
help me get from A to B?
Right.
And it's not quite there yet because it's still me narrating, and we've experimented around with some AI
Right.
narration. It's like it's not quite
No,
not quite there yet.
They're not quite there yet. I've tried, I think it's 11 labs for
Yeah.
that. And it's scary how good your voice can be. But by the time you set up everything, there's still some, uh, things to work through. But what I wanted to say about what you just said, the scripting part with ChatGPT, what I found helpful is when you really have to approach it. And I got this from my sister and my husband. Like, this is like an intern, and so it's going to be a back and forth dialogue. It's not like people think, oh, just give me a list of great prompts. And I'm sure you don't think that, but a lot of people are like, oh, let me just get the prompts that you got. But actually, you're having a conversation. I usually start every experience of writing something and I'm like, hey GP, how's it going? It's Nikayla here, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, here's what I want to do. And then we go back and forth. And it gives me the first draft, and then I'm like, no, that sounds to this. I give it examples of my writing, and I say what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is this. And so it takes a while, Nick, but by the time we go through this process, we get to a good place. And then you can take that script and like tweak it to what's not, or like as you're reading it, of course, adjust it organically. But I can definitely say I think you can speed up your script process with AI, with ChatGPT or Claude.ai. Like check
Yeah.
those out because it's been really, really helpful. It's not going to give you the first pass, you're not going to be impressed with. You still have to workshop it like it's a person, an
Yeah,
employee.
that makes sense. And the more you can prime it, and you've got enough body of content on the internet where
Yeah.
it knows who you are, kind of knows how you would speak and
Right.
your personality.
Yeah.
And it's
But
the
I
same
find
thing.
it's still faster, even after we've gone through that whole conversation, than me like sitting down and like having to download what I'm thinking and create a script from scratch.
Yes, for sure. So I've got a discount code for Pictory. It's NSHN20, like Nick, Side Hustle Nation 20. We'll get you 20% off, I think,
Yes.
over there. We'll also link that up in the show notes. Really cool tool. I'm going to try and put together kind of a demo video of like our typical use case and
Okay.
share some of the results that some of those
Yes.
videos have gotten. It's like, well, some of them are earning views and dollars every day. And it was like, what it will typically do is, me for the first 5 or 10 seconds, hey, we're going to talk about the best items to flip for a profit, or we're going to talk about, side hustles for introvert. I don't know, some of these examples where we use this tool, but, talking head intro for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and then, the rest is kind of pictorially generated with those stock footage.
I love that. And we were talking about this before we started recording, how as I was going through your YouTube channel, I'm like, you know what, I can do some of these as well, because there are lots of little mini things people ask me. And I'm like, through looking at your channel, realizing I need to do one of these, just quickly explaining how something works, or how a side hustler can set up your email list and tag people, or, that's just shooting out an example. But I love what you do there. So I think that's so smart.
Some of that Q&A content has the longest shelf life, where some of my best performing videos are like how to keep your Dropbox from taking up your local hard drive storage.
Most popular on a page, and I'm like, wait, what is this about?
This video is probably 10 years old, and it's just, it was probably created with ScreenPal, and just like, here's, a 2-minute video on how to get it done, but it answers the question. So anytime people are asking you questions, I think it's important to make a note of that, because that could turn into content for you.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, the other one on the graphics and video category is Pexels, Pexels. This is just, free stock photography, where, that's where you're sourcing a lot of the images. We've got a deposit photos license, or we bought like 100-pack off AppSumo a few years ago, and still are working through those as well. But, wherever you can kind of find the image to illustrate what you're talking about, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's Pexels.
I actually use Canva for my images these days. I used to use Pexels, but nowadays I'm on the Pro plan on Canva. So, and oftentimes I'm looking for, Black women, women of color, just more like niche things. I shouldn't say niche, but I want specific things. And Canva has actually a really good library of images, even when I'm talking about podcasting, different type of podcast studios. So I use it for that. And when I need other stock photo things, like imagery for social, I have some apps that I use for that. Like Template is one of them, and Vixer I've also tried.
Oh, I don't know those. We'll link those up too.
Yeah.
Okay, our next category is team collaboration, and for me this starts with secure password sharing. For me, that's LastPass. Again, been a customer for years and years. This company is maybe a little bit embattled with, I don't know, security breaches. Anyways, it's been fine for me. It's been good for me.
I know, knock on wood, same. And same thing with the switching costs. It's like, at this point, I don't know. I'm sticking with LastPass for now, but the password breaches have been a little concerning.
I don't know where the tipping point was, where it's like you had so many different logins to keep track of, and it's like, how are you ever going to remember all of this stuff? And so just offload that mental clutter. It doesn't have to be LastPass, but if you don't have a password manager, like that's an absolute must-have.
The password manager, it wasn't so much like I was forgetting passwords anymore, but once I started working with the team, I was definitely not comfortable giving someone else my password. So whoever invented this concept, thank you, so that I can get them to log in places, but they're not seeing my password.
Kind of our next stage of this is the family share plan, mainly in case of emergency, is Brynn going to be able to access the stuff that she needs to, and without, because I think it's like the laptop is like biometric, or it's like just want to make sure in one secure location you can unlock everything she needs to unlock. But that's LastPass for the team secure password sharing. We have make.com, which is a formerly Integramat. This is an automation tool that connects different apps and services in your life. And so an example use case would be if somebody enrolls in one of the courses on Teachable, Make will automatically send their information over to ConvertKit. If somebody buys one of the workbooks, Make will make sure that they get appropriately tagged, and it automatically, triggers that like file delivery email. If the podcast editor uploads a episode to like the final audio folder in Google Drive, it triggers a note, triggers an email to the show notes writer, like, hey, another episode is ready for you to go, listen to and summarize. Here's the link to it. And so it's kind of, it removes me from that process in a lot of ways, and just like, makes it happen automatically.
Ooh, so I've used Zapier for that. And as we're talking about this, you just gave me an idea of new automations that I need to set up for my team when like I'm done recording in Riverside, for example. So I love that we're having this conversation, just getting so many new ideas.
Yeah, Zapier was using them for a long time, and then they wanted to like double or triple the rates. Ooh. And I was like, really, guys? Like,
startup greed.
Come on. And that was one where it's like, yes, there's a learning curve. Yes, there's a switching cost, but I didn't have so many automations.
Right. Like let's not get ridiculous.
Yeah. I found the make support like pretty well too. And they've got lots of knowledge base articles. Like if you want to do a specific thing, they're usually pretty helpful on getting that set up. The next one here is Asana. This is, I still have my like pen and paper to-do lists, but as the team has grown, as the complexity of the business has grown, despite, trying to stick with the mantra of, simplicity first, Asana has been really helpful for keeping track of tasks and deadlines and due dates and who's responsible for that.
Yeah.
It's, you can create monthly recurring tasks, and you can integrate with Make as well. Like once this happens, assign this to my assistant, and that's all in Asana right now.
I've used Asana, Basecamp, Trello, and I found that I'm really not into these yet. I don't know what it is. It just kind of overcomplicates it a little bit for me, but I know at some point maybe I'll revisit, or someone will make one that I really vibe with. But right now we have our communication via Slack. We're not using a project management tool. I've only used those when I'm usually working with a brand, right, on giving them deliverables and things like that. So that's when Asana has been most helpful.
Yeah, there's a learning curve to all of these, and the challenge is you open it up and it's blank, and you're like, well.
And it's like a dark background, and it's just like it doesn't trigger my inspiration and creative brain at all.
Yeah, I know this is going to be super powerful, but I got to figure out how to make it work for me. And it's cool that it's all customizable, but it's like, some level of onboarding or guidance would be helpful for sure. And that's why there's whole businesses built around selling Notion templates, and people have done really well with that. All right, I have a virtual assistant service that I've been a customer of for years, and this is called OK Relax, which might be my favorite name for a VA service. They do, I'm on my 5th, 6th, 7th assistant through them. But they've all been really reliable for like dedicated, recurring tasks. Early on, it was, running reports, installing lead magnets, doing company research, blog post formatting. Like they've been a helpful addition to the team and a pretty affordable service too.
Yes. I also use a VA, and not through a service, actually through just a referral. And we've been going on, I want to say maybe like almost 5 years now. Finding a good person is really priceless.
Yeah, keep them on the team for sure.
Yes.
The other kind of agency service or productized service that helps out on the website side of things is called ZenWP, and I consider this kind of my on-call, on-demand website insurance service, where if something breaks with WordPress or you want to make an adjustment, but they help out with all that stuff, especially instrumental during the last refresh of the site. It's kind of painful. It's like there's a lot of months where like I don't bother them at all, and it's like, well, there was my monthly fee down the drain. But when you do have something that comes up, and that's why it's kind of like the insurance policy. If something breaks, you have somebody on your team who can jump in.
I like that. I formerly would just go to like my host customer service, but that is a good investment.
Okay, next under team collaboration and communication is Mint Mobile, who has been a sponsor on the show. This is the affordable wireless service provider. I've been a customer since 2019. I don't do a lot of phone, direct phone calls. I use Google Voice as well for some business calls, but this is really handy to have at an affordable rate.
So you use this for your self-service overall?
Yes.
Okay. So I do have a Google Voice as well. And then outside of that, Verizon is who I use.
And as the business grows, we've had OpenPhone as a sponsor on the show. Like just under different use cases, at a certain point, you kind of outgrow your personal cell phone, and you gotta route things to different ways, and you want to kind of, especially if you're doing different marketing channels, and you want to make sure what channel is working. Well, I want to have a dedicated phone number for that and everything. So, but Mint Mobile has been my wireless provider, and I'll just include that on this list because as their slogan says, friends don't let friends overpay for wireless.
Yes. Oh, that's really smart. I haven't needed it yet. Needed to branch out to that many lines yet, but I will keep that in mind.
The other team collaboration tool that I am in all day, every day is Google Drive. And this is sharing blog articles. This is sharing like production docs for different episodes. It is kind of home base for a lot of different files and reports, and just templates. This is where we house our process library for, all the things that are going on inside Hustle Nation. I was kind of a latecomer. I was on, using Dropbox for a long time, but the functionality with Google Drive is a whole lot better. Even use it for collecting survey responses, job applications, and then sharing files amongst people on the team.
Yeah, I use both. So primarily Google Drive for team-related files, but Dropbox for really large files like episodes, all the backups and things like that.
Yeah. It's amazing how affordable extra gigabytes of storage are. It's like just having that backup. And I think there's a WordPress plugin. I should probably look up which one it is. But so the host WPX takes daily backups of the site, but we also a little bit of redundancy wouldn't hurt. Since that is the whole base, the bread and butter. And I think that gets backed up to Google Drive daily or weekly.
Oh, interesting.
All right, we're on to the podcasting section now.
Yes.
The first is, this is one question, how do you record remote interviews? And we're recording this on riverside.fm. This is a browser-based recording tool that allows for remote interviews. It takes, I think, really clean audio. It records video. It records each side independently. So if there's voice over IP lags, theoretically, it's got a good backup on each individual's local hard drive. It's been probably a year and a half using Riverside. Sometimes we have some technical challenges, but overall, it's been pretty reliable.
Same here. I've been using Riverside now, I want to say maybe since 2021, and it has been very reliable. I love Riverside. I'm actually creating, it's almost live, a course with them called The Ultimate Guide to Video Podcasting. So when it's live, you'll go over to sidehustlepro.co/video podcasting. All right. And I'm just going through basically, everything like my at-home studio in my closet and why it's so seamless. I love it because I love virtual podcasting. I am not ready to go into a studio every single time I do an episode yet. And I'm able to see the guests. They can join easily. They don't have to log into anything. And I can see their equipment to make sure, their sound is okay, that the recording is uploaded. And I just think it's so smart and adaptive.
Yeah, a couple recent guests were local. And it's like, well, I guess we could have recorded this in person. But it's like, no, I'm not set up for that. Like, let's just stick with the process, stick with the system here. So that's that. For recording, I also record a direct backup into Audacity, and that ends up being the track that we end up using from my side of the audio. This is audio editing too, like where I can record the ad reads, and the commercials, and just do that directly.
I've been doing everything in Riverside, like my ad reads, course reads, everything these days. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, this is it's become really powerful. Like they have like these AI snippets that they'll generate. Yeah. It does transcriptions, which allows us to cancel our subscription to the other transcript tool. Yeah. There's been some consolidation, some tool swap, like trying to trim down the commitment of monthly subscriptions.
Yes. It's taken over a lot. Like you said, like show notes before my social media manager was writing those manually, and now we have like a base to start with, and then we customize it. So it's just sped up our processes so we can then focus on other big picture items.
Yeah, there is another transcription and editing tool that we do keep on the payroll, and that is Descript, and primarily for video editing. And when I first used it, I think Joe from Stacking Benjamins was the first one to be like, you got to try this. Is you first experience editing video by editing text. This is where the conversation went off the rails. We're going to just strike that out of the transcript, and it deletes that section of the video. And you're like, this is like magic. And it makes it so much easier for video editing. If you have an interview, if you have even just a talking head type of video where you want to, it'll do the transcription, and then you can start editing it that way. We use that for first pass, and my video editor uses that to create the video version of the podcast.
Yes, I love that actually about Riverside, but I also do have Descript because I still like it as a video editor for non-podcast things when I just quickly want to upload something and do some editing or take care of the transcript.
Yeah, one cool use case was we talked about 11 Labs for their professional voiceover. Upload hours of your audio, and it comes back pretty good actually. Well, Descript has something similar called overdub, and the use case for me, we were traveling, didn't bring the podcast setup, didn't bring the microphone with me, and they said, the advertiser requested a change from this script that you recorded to this script, and it was like one line was different, or just a few words were different. It's like, let me punch this into Descript overdub, and so it's like, okay, for just a few seconds of audio, like nobody would know the difference. Like that was really cool. Like it didn't have to, do a full setup and recording and re-upload and like a whole, all this other nonsense. So definitely a cool tool to have in your tool belt. Yes. As far as the editing of the show itself, like the, after recording production side, my editing service has been Podcast Fast Track since 2016, like since like right before my oldest son was born.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a big net time saver, and just a big focus your energy on what you're most excited about, creating the content, connecting with awesome people. Like looking at those little waveforms for the first 3 years of the show is like, there's got to be somebody. And on top of that, like I just didn't know how to do it very well, and like so they help out with all that.
I also outsource editing, and it's just never something I loved. I use actually my editor pitched me back in 2016, and we've been working together ever since. Longest team member. That is still crazy to think about. Chris from Podshaper.
Very nice. Yeah, there is something to that, where if maybe that's the side hustle opportunity. If you can figure out audio editing, and maybe you use some of these AI powered tools, you get a client that sticks around. If they're going to keep doing the show, that's a very sticky customer. Long lifetime value.
Start pitching people. Don't be afraid. Like, don't just wait for them to come to your website. Look for podcasters. Podcasters are always looking for a good deal. So work on your pitch.
All right, we'll link up Podchaser as well. And then last one in the podcasting category is Megaphone. This is the new or new-ish within the last year or so media host for the show. This is Spotify owned or Spotify powered. That allows for dynamic ad insertion across the whole catalog. It seems to be the direction that the industry was going, and that's been another good addition or another good shift over to Megaphone. Definitely more expensive than what I was paying with Libsyn, which is noticeable, but again, the ROI is definitely there.
Yes, I am on the Acast podcast network, so I'm on Acast platform, which also seamlessly allows for dynamic insertion. I believe they might have been the first ones to do that for independent podcasters. So that's been really good. And because I'm on the network, I'm not actually paying a plan, so I can't tell you what the plan cost is or anything. But before that, I was on Libsyn for a long time, and love Libsyn as well. It was super user friendly. The team customer support was always very, very responsive. So I actually have a code for Libsyn Hustle Pro if you want to try it out, because it's the first month and a half free.
Very nice. We'll link that up. Yeah, Libsyn was absolutely awesome for the first, probably 10 years of the show.
Oh, nice.
It's just, again, one of those bills that comes up every month, and you're like I am getting such an amazing deal. It's similar to the web hosting. You're like, yes, happy to keep. Yes. And I was really like, I had no idea. Like media, you need a media host. What? I thought thing. iTunes. In the early days, maybe iTunes host. I didn't even think about it, and it was $15 a month. Starting out. And had it been 25 or 30, like legitimately the show might not exist. Like what am I committing myself to? I just have to keep paying this for forever. And over time it's like, oh no, this is a very, very low cost to pay to be able to reach thousands and thousands of people. One really important point that I should have mentioned at the top of the show is that neither of us started here with dozens of different tools and monthly subscriptions. Like we started off doing the editing ourselves. We started off doing the graphics ourselves, very free, very cheap, like trying to do the the minimum viable product, and then layering on complexity and cost and team members as time has gone on. Because it may be intimidating. You start doing the math in your head of like, well, this is an annual subscription, this is a monthly subscription, and it might sound intimidating, but it's like, no, we've added that cost and complexity as the businesses have grown. Right. Now we've got the money category, which I think is our last one here, if not the last, but maybe one of the last. Mm-hmm. The new to me bookkeeping software, and this is, kind of, fintech and Plaid integrations have opened up a bunch of these different services. Right. And one of the cool ones that I found and actually made the switch for bookkeeping this year was to Kick. I think it's kick.co.
Oh my gosh. I literally just saw an email about them and want to try them. So tell me about your experience.
Yeah. So this is, syncs with all your different accounts, and it kind of gives you that, real time, picture, but also the monthly snapshot of income and expenses. And probably will save $1,000, $1,500 a year compared to the other thing. And the cool thing is, like, if you don't have much expenses, it's actually free. And so if you have less than, I want to say 25, depending on when you're listening to this, and it's a fintech startup, so like your plans change all the time. But if you have less than $15,000 or $25,000 in annual expenses, I think you could actually use it for free. Nice. And it's really cool. And then they have annual plans on top of that. I was the person who kept bookkeeping as one of my tasks way too long, because I was that weird person who got that little dopamine hit of logging the income on the spreadsheet, like almost in real time. Like, what a colossal waste of energy, even though that it felt good.
We're missing stuff, like we're not accountants. We're missing stuff. We don't know other things we could, like, that's what I saw with that Kick does that intrigued me, because it's like, all right, they're catching things that you might not realize. And back to our earlier conversation about the Teachable team. So it's founded by another Teachable alum. So that's the other one I was talking about. So you have Carrie and Kick are both Teachable alum founded business.
Oh, yeah. Conrad. Totally. Yes. But no, it's pretty slick. Really cool interface that you can. What bothered me about my old bookkeeping solution was that you had to message your bookkeeper if you wanted to, like, if something got miscategorized. Like, why on earth do they not just have, like?
That's what I'm struggling with right now. I don't like any of the ones I've tried, and I'm like, I need to find a better, more automated, more intelligent solution.
Yeah, I was like, why? How come they couldn't just put a little drop-down menu or like recategorize it? And I was like, you got to message them, and it takes 3 weeks for them to reply. It's like, really, guys? Like, the whole pitch was like, AI, intelligent software plus human. Like, if you're not going to have the human part, like, what's even the point of this?
A nice interface. Like, I am an aesthetic person. I need a nice interface that I can drag, drop, and Then I've also tried the human bookkeeper thing, and I don't like you going off into the dark, whipping up spreadsheets, then coming back to me with a spreadsheet that I don't really like how you've organized information. So
Yeah.
I'm still working through this process, Nick. So I'm gonna give it a try.
And then the other one, so that's on the business side. The one that I really like on the personal side is Monarch. And this is your personal net worth dashboard. This is monthly income and expenses. This is, historical, performance, and, the stock market at the time of this recording has been on a year-long tear. So of course, like it's rewarding to log in and see that net worth number go up, but it's a kind of a cool interface as well with a customizable dashboard, and you can track all the personal side of things. And that's something that my wife and I both have access to, where we can kind of get that snapshot or get that picture of the personal
Another
finances.
one I'm taking note of.
Yeah, that one has been cool, and a couple guests have mentioned it too. And I don't know, maybe there's a business. I don't know, maybe you could use it for business too, but that's on the personal side. And then finally, on the affiliate income tracking side, I've been using a tool called Affluent, which pulls in, I think it got bought by Impact, one of the affiliate networks, but it pulls in data from Impact, from Commission Junction, from Rakuten, from all these different affiliate networks, and kind of gives you a daily snapshot of your affiliate earnings, and it sends you an email every day, which is always nice to get. And lately that number has been like going down. It's like, well, shoot, but it kind of gives visibility to it. And my only because I really like that, and it saves time, like for month end reporting of like, where did the income come from? How did these links perform? The only downside is like there's no Thrivecart integration, there's no Samcart integration, where it's like it doesn't give you 100% picture of what happened on the affiliate side, but it probably has 60-70%.
I'll look into that once. That's the thing I'm looking for too with the bookkeeping. It is so annoying to have all these different things where when you start out as a side hustler, like money is coming from different places, Stripe, PayPal, all these different integrations. And I wish someone would just make an overall that just takes it all, and I don't have to like be uploading spreadsheets from different places, or also looking at this data in addition to this website's data. It's an AI solution is needed.
Now, if I'm able to get Lasso's performance tool working, I may be able to hit the cancel button on this Affluent tool, because I think there's some overlap in the functionality there. But that's it. I think we threw out 40 or 50 different tools, resources for you. Are there any favorites that come to mind that people ought to know about?
One last thing I'll add is just social media management. So I like using a tool called Later right now to schedule out posts. Well, my social media manager schedules out posts across the different social media, Side Hustle Pro, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn channels, and we use Buffer for LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. What was the first one?
It's called Later, just Later, later.com.
Okay, cool. Awesome. We'll add those in to the list. What are you excited about these days? What kind of projects have you got going on? I know you're always got different things, following from afar, and curious to see what's coming up.
I'm excited about this Riverside video podcasting course, especially after our conversation. I'm excited to get that out there and have everyone see how easy it can be to podcast right from home. Like, you don't need this huge fancy setup or studio. And so I'm excited to get that out into the world. And also, if people want to continue learning from me and growing their podcast into actual revenue, then I'm excited for you to learn more about Podcast Moguls, which is my course and also mastermind group, where we are independent podcasters who have scaled our podcast into repeatable revenue through various measures. So we've had people who work with brands, but also people who have used their podcast as a funnel for their own business and to get more clients. So you can find out all about that over at sidehustlepro.co. For Podcast Moguls, it's sidehustlepro.co/podcast moguls. And like I said, once the Riverside course is live, it will be over at sidehustlepro.co/video podcasting.
I love it. In partnership with Riverside.
Yes.
Well, now, Nicaila definitely knows a thing or two about podcasting. Haven't done it for years and years. 400 episodes of the Side Hustle Pro podcast. Go check it out, and you won't be disappointed there. As for the links to all the resources mentioned. Definitely check out the show notes for this episode. You can hit the link in the episode description. It'll get over there. I'll toss out a pretty link again, sidehustlenation.com/Nikayla or /resources. Both will get you over to the show notes for this page. Big thanks to Nikayla for sharing her insight. Big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this content free for everyone. You can hit up sidehustlenation.com/deals for all the latest offers from our sponsors in one place. Thanks again for supporting the advertisers that support the show. It really does make a difference. That is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen, and I'll catch you in the next edition of The Side Hustle Show. Hustle on.